after completing the Head and Shoulder study, I realized that I have all the layers that I need to very quickly finish rendering other views of the character. In this section, I want to show you how you can accomplish that very quickly, as well as composite a few options together that show different poses and different sides of the character. So with all of these layers that I have in Photoshop, I can now composite something. So I put this image together from a couple of different renders, and I'd like to show the process. So when I originally started the image, I had a view that I wasn't too crazy about to begin with. Now this image described the side view really nicely, but I didn't want to have a profile on the design. And so from another render, I decided to cut and paste the head right on top of that. This was a render that I pulled out from my turntable, and I really like the angle on the head, and so I just used it. It makes the pose a little bit more interesting. We can see more of the face. Then I decided to rotate the body, adjust the location of the arm, adding atmosphere. I'm basically matching what I did in the Head and Shoulders study. And this was a very fast kind of thing. And so I could try it out. I stole the curves from the close-up. I literally just dragged and dropped it into this file. And also, I took the levels so that my palette was doing the same thing as the previous image. Decided to darken up the rocks a bit. Then I cropped. Alright. So from here on, I just repeated the same steps that I did in the previous piece, except of course now I have the rock base. And I found this a bit too distracting, so I decided to fill that in with black. And I'm starting to push back the rocks with atmosphere. Starting to separate the tail and the arm with atmosphere. I'm extending the rocks here. I'm just changing the image, working opaquely. Here I just copied an area of the rock and pasted it down there. Adding atmosphere, cast shadow on the floor. And this was all very experimental. I didn't decide to commit to it until I got to a place where I was actually happy. So I'm spending a lot of time just separating forms in the piece. You'll notice that I'm using atmosphere to push the back leg, the back arm further. Cutting and pasting the rocks. Just finding my way. Here I'm painting opaquely. Here I decided that the wrist was too bulbous, so I copied it and transformed it, adding that spray layer from the custom brush. Here I'm adjusting highlights, adjusting curves, and because I have this PSD of the Head and Shoulders, I can really just follow my process from this piece and apply it to the new composited piece. Here I decided that I didn't like how the waist was bending. Now, originally the creature was lower to the ground, and so it made sense to have his gut where it is, but I imagine if he's lifting himself up, all of this would stretch and his weight would disperse differently. And there's the final image. So it's very simple to take the multiple renders that you do and finish them off by applying the same process for resolving your first image. Now you'll notice that even with the renders, just like with the rest of the design process, I wanted to see what the head and shoulders would look like before resolving an entire body. Here's our detail shot.